Thank you very much for staying late this afternoon. I want to give you, over the next half an hour, a background to the tours and activities sector. Now, this is pretty much the most important part of the travel industry. Now, I would say that, wouldn't I? The travel industry is not memorable for flights. It is not memorable for hotels. But you look at what people share when they go to a destination, it is what they do when they get there. And this is very important. It's where everyone spends their money. So, wait, come on. Hello, tech. Thank you. So what is my background and why am I standing here? So I have just spent the last 8 years as CEO and founder of Tour CMS. So we were the first company to take local tour companies and product to the big OTAs. So if you wanted to book a tour on companies like Expedia or Viator, then it was us and a couple of other companies who you would go to get your tour to appear there and be bookable. But I'll come on to a minute. I'll give you a few more stories about that as we go through. But now I've actually sold Tour CMS and I'm working on a city guide thing, just like everyone's working on city guides. And I'll talk more about that later in the year. But I do know this problem now from the tour company's perspective, from the technology company, and also from producing apps that try and solve this problem. Ooh. So, did you know that only 4% of bookings, 4% of bookings of local tours are made by online travel agents? That is a minute, a very, very small number. What are the other 96%? Where are those bookings going? It turns out that those bookings are all in destination. That means people will book it when they get there. That is a real problem if you are a digital company. Because digital, if you look at what all the digital companies are doing, it's all about getting people to go to somewhere, not about what you do when you get there. So I'll come on to that in a little bit more detail. But just remember that 4% number. It's very important because you hear a lot about online travel agencies. And in hotels and in flights, 50, 60, 70% of bookings are by online travel agencies. But you look in local tours, and it's only 4%. Very, very small. Now, 4 things are going to need to change in order for this number to increase. It needs changes from suppliers, and it needs changes from the online travel agents. And this is what I want to talk a little bit more about this afternoon. So the first thing we need is live availability. Can you hear me still? So live availability. This is the biggest problem. Can you hear me? Oh, you just come off. Smile, everyone. Right, thank you. Entertain yourselves. So, anyway, okay, I'm back. Right. So live availability sounds simple, right? Sounds like it's 2017. Why are we talking about live availability? It turns out that still, if you are a local tour provider, quite often people still are based on email reservations. But what is the problem with email reservations? Is if you take a booking at the last minute, you have to reply to that email at the last minute. Well, that's a mess. The second thing with it is that if you receive bookings overnight, and so let's say you have a tour that starts at 8 in the morning, and you could receive 4 or 5 bookings overnight, and you might overbook. Now these are all problems that you think, well, come on people, this is like straightforward, this should be solved. But only 13% of local tour operators use a reservation system. The other 80%, nothing. They use paper and pen and email. So we have to solve this problem. Now, that's just amazing that in 2017 that 80% of companies are still using paper and pen. I mean, you know. The second thing that we need to solve for that, remember that OTA, online travel agent, 4% to go up. The second thing that we need to solve is paper vouchers. Who here has booked a tour recently? Do you know what the call to action after you've booked is? Is you're told, hey, go and print this voucher. But you just booked it on your phone. And you're like, what do I do? So you go to the hotel, and they used to have little offices that you could print things out at, because that's what businessmen needed. But you don't have that nowadays, because people don't need that. So there is literally no way for you to get that voucher off your phone onto a piece of paper so that you can give it to the supplier. Well, that again is ridiculous, and that has been solved. So you should now be able to have a paper voucher that's got a barcode on it, and that when you present it to the technology that the local tour company is using, it scans that voucher and lets you in. That, again, sounds quite straightforward, but 80–90% of local tour operators are not using that technology. So a massive problem that needs solving. The third thing that needs changing is cancellation terms. People don't book local tours in advance because they're worried about changing their plans. They don't change their plans for flight or hotel as much as they do their local tour. Because once they've arrived in a foreign city, they might go, oh, actually, I would prefer to do this, or I want to go and do that. Or it's raining, and they don't want to go on a Segway because it's raining. So we need to get to a position where people can just cancel and get their money back. Sounds kind of straightforward, but you go and look at the number of local tour companies who say, oh yeah, you can cancel, but you'll only have half your money back. Well, that's not how it should be. We need more. You need to get your money back if you cancel. Now, I do know that some tours, this is difficult because there are marginal costs per guest. So, for example, if you are a white water rafting company, you have to have a certain number of tour guides per number of customers. So you have people cancelling, then you've suddenly got too many tour guides. So there are some products where actually cancellation and easy cancellation is hard to achieve. But if you want to get the bookings in the first place, by having straightforward 100% return cancellation is where you should aim to be. But those three things that I've just mentioned were all on the supplier to fix. So I said, well, why does the supplier need to actually fix this problem? It's the OTA's problem, but here we are, I've just said three things, and the supplier has to fix them. But there is a fourth, and that the online travel agents need to change their model. And I think this might be slightly impossible as something to ask for, actually. What's the first question you get? What's the first question you get when you go to an online travel agent website? The first question you get is, where do you want to go? That's really fundamental to their issue. Where do you want to go? I don't want to go anywhere. I'm in Berlin already. I want to do a tour tonight. I want to do a tour tomorrow because my flight's been cancelled and I'm going to be here for another day, so what shall I do? I'm not going anywhere. I am already here. So fundamentally, online travel agents have got a big issue because they are marketing as where do you want to go? businesses. And local tour and activity companies are I am here businesses. I am here already. So the interesting aspect of this is that the new entrants who are coming into tours and activities are also I am here companies. So Airbnb, I am staying in my Airbnb, I am here. The one in the middle, anyone recognize that? Foursquare. That's got a great city guide created through content that's been user generated. Again, it's an I am here business. The last one, Facebook city guides. Anyone seen that? That was announced last week. This again is an I am here. I want to share what I am doing now with my friends who are not traveling so I can make them jealous. That is what I guess Facebook is all about. I'm sure there's other reasons to go on Facebook, but that is what Facebook's about. So these companies are all I am here businesses, and the online travel agents are all where do you want to go businesses. So fundamentally, that is why they are stuck at 4%, because they're not going to increase their 4% until they shift. They need to be hotel tonight, not hotel in 3 weeks' time. So who's the winners and losers out of all of these, this shift that hasn't quite happened? Well, suppliers could actually be winners here. I mentioned, out of the 4 changes I mentioned, 3 of them were under suppliers' control. We need to do everything we can to have last-minute availability. So 2-3 years ago, I used to talk at conferences, and it was about, hey, what can I do tomorrow? That was scary, because suppliers couldn't even handle that. And now I'm saying, hey, it's, what is it, 4:15, what can I do tonight? We're now talking now, not tomorrow. We've cut that time down to 0, and that comes from technology, operational processes, and having product that is easily cancelable, easily bookable. If you as a supplier are not trying to achieve that, then you will lose your bookings versus competitors who are. Now, this presentation was announced as what's going to happen next. Well, online travel agents, 4% of the bookings. They have spent 8 years and all of their money to get to 4% of the market. This is nothing. I think in 2017, 2018, you will see the Facebooks, the Uber, the Foursquares of the world solve tours and activities more than it will be Expedia, Priceline, TripAdvisor, or any of the other OTAs. I'm just based on the concept of the theory that they're not in the right place. Uber has a system where if you're in the back of an Uber, it will tell you things that you can do around the place that you're driving to. That's here and now, here and now. Those businesses are stronger positioned than the OTAs. So watch out for that in 2017, 2018. Second area that's going to be significantly different in 2017, 2018 is tour reviews. Has anyone actually read a tour review? They're never about the tour. If you read a tour review, it's always about, if it's a multi-day tour, it will always be about the hotel. If it's a tour that goes to an attraction, it will always be a review of the attraction. It's never a review of the tour. So tour reviews are completely useless, of no value to any human who reads them. Although they're quite amusing, but they've got no value in terms of choosing which tour you should go on. So I think that tour reviews need to be changed. Now, what is going to change a tour review? And I expect you'll see in the next year, or later on in the year, or beginning of next, certainly by the next ITB, you'll see that we will have removed text reviews. I don't think text reviews are here to stay. I think we will, for tours, have moved to live reviews. So let's say a tour is 4 hours long. Why can't someone review it after 2 hours? And then let's say they're complaining that the air conditioning is not working on their tour bus. Then why can't the head office now go, oh, hang on, tell that driver to give everyone some free water? Why can't we fix the problem before the problem is on TripAdvisor 24 hours later? Because at that point, it's not fixable. So I'm expecting to see that we're going to move to live tour reviews. So reviews before the end of the product. Now, hotels have just begun to do that for hotel stays. Because if you're staying in a hotel for 24 hours, you want to kind of understand if that customer is happy halfway. But it's not been done in tours yet. No one is doing this. No one is doing this. And you can get really clever. So for example, let's say the tour is to the Grand Canyon. Well, you can track people's phones, and you can work out when they have just finished seeing the Grand Canyon and send everyone a notification saying, hey, how was the Grand Canyon? Or how is your tour going? So you can make them geographic. You can make them, this is where I think people are, if you want to know where the innovation is going to come from in reviews, to replace these text reviews that I've said are bad, then I think live reviews is going to be the new thing that's coming. I'm kind of hoping some startups will kind of grasp that, because there's definitely an opportunity there. I kind of envisage the tour operator sat in their office with 4 or 5 screens going, oh, this tour's going okay, that tour's going great, or that tour's not going so well. And if we can get to that, then surely we can give people better tours. So that's kind of where I think we're going to get to in 2017, 2018 in the local tour sector. Has anyone else, have you got any questions, any thoughts? Anyone else like to kind of comment or got any more thoughts about where we're going to head to? Oh, where is the microphone? Oh, there's one. Oh, whatever. There's a person. Hold. Tell us who you are and where you're from.
Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hi, Alex.
Perfect.
Valentin Dombrovsky, Travel Labs, used to work in tours and activities for a while. Nice to meet you here, Alex. Actually, I like your concept, and I like the idea that tours is something that you need to buy here and now. And I actually worked, I worked in tours and activities OTA, maybe not that well-known OTA, and I was trying to promote this idea inside my own company. But at the same time, I think that sometimes tours and activities play the role in destination discovery. So it's not where I want to go, but what I want to do, I don't know where I can do it. Well, the most simple example, where can I have great surfing experience, for example? And that is the question that you have in mind when you want to go surfing or skiing or something like this. There are specific types of activities that play the role in destination discovery. And it's a bit different angle in this case, I think. What do you think about it?
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting thing. So the question was about destination discovery and the role of tours and activities in destination discovery. It's quite interesting, for example, in food, in that actually only a very small percentage of people choose a destination because of food. However, once they have made that decision to go to that destination, it then becomes an important factor in how they choose to spend their time at the destination. Surfing and some other specialities like diving or sailing, then it becomes, that's a little bit more understandable in terms of structure, and in fact those hobby-based travel or pastime-based travel, people get into their habit of doing that. So it's a routine. So you go for your annual ski trip or you go for your annual sailing trip. That's a slightly different concept to city tourism. City tourism is nearly always about tours and activities. When you get out of cities to do things like surfing, and of course there is some crossover. When you get out of cities, that's a bit more like selling a holiday than it is about selling a tour and activity on top of a city in a city transaction. But yeah, there's a major crossover, and it's interesting. If I was a startup, I wouldn't like to address the city discovery problem, because I think the online travel agents will get there first. So it's definitely a problem, but I wouldn't, as a startup, go for it. Any other questions from anyone? That was a great question, Valentin. Thank you. Valentin's been in this sector for a long time as well. That's why you can ask these great questions. Anyone else? Okay, put your hand up if you work in tours and activities. Oh, there's a few hands. Put your hands up if you're hotels. Oh, okay. Well, what are the rest of you? Airlines? Oh, no, I don't think so. Students? Oh, students. Cool. Okay, I'll talk about students then. So one of the things about being a student, I would just say this, nearly every student I have met ever, and all of their university courses, are all about hospitality management. And as soon as we can get this industry away from being about hospitality management and about trips and about visits, that's where we should be. So tours and activities hardly ever comes into hospitality degrees. It really should do. So thank you, students, for being here, because you can go back and say, yeah, tours and activities, that's what we should be learning, not hotels. Hotels is like done. Lots of people do hotels. Tours and activities, that's where it should be. Any other questions? Thank you, students. That was a good point. Oh, Valentin, you got another question. Come on then. Go on. Yeah.
Let it become a bit of a discussion with me and Alex, like industry veterans, although I'm much younger. I'm sorry. Well, speaking about hotels,
yeah.
Maybe you could tell a bit. You say like hotels are out of the business. No, I don't mean that you say that, but hotels in tours and activities, hotels in discovering what to do, what should be their role. I mean, like, is it mainly concierge service on desk, or they have other opportunities?
Well, this is the biggest problem with AI. So the AI is all about giving you the right answer. So you go to Google or you go to some AI, you have to ask it the right question and it will find you the answer. So it will say, where should I go to go surfing? But who puts that idea in your brain to ask that question in the first place? So that's fundamentally an issue we're all going to grasp with over the next 3 or 4 years, is not how do you answer a question, but how do you work out what the right question to ask is. I think that kind of, and I think that's where that again is something. Innovators in tours and activities can't get to work in this sector until we have the data to innovate on top of. So we talked before about only 15% of local tour companies using a reservation system. Well, until we have that at 90%, there is nothing to innovate on top of, because there is no data. You go and innovate in hotels, you go and innovate in airlines, you can get the data. It might be expensive, those commercial agreements, but you will get the data. Tours and activities, data does not exist, so there is no space for the innovator yet. So we've all been stuck trying to collect that data. And I think 2017, 2018, we'll be able to move on from that and start innovating properly. That's what I'm hoping. Any other questions? Have I convinced anyone that tours and activities is like a fun sector? Yeah, come on. A few students saying, yeah, that's good, that's good. Yeah. No, anyone else? Everyone else going? It's actually, it's a really, the biggest challenge with it is that there isn't a lot of money. you know, in that it's a low-value product. People spend 50 euros, 100 euros on a tour. As a travel agent, you get 10% commission. You know, that is not like selling a hotel or a flight. Actually, it's a bit like selling a flight, but there's not a lot of money, so you have to go volume. And once you've gone volume, you end up selling attractions and not the interesting long tail product. So it's a little bit of a commercial challenge, but it's quite rewarding if you get it right. Come on, guys, I'm sure you guys got a question, otherwise I'm going to wrap this up. John in the back, you got a question? Oh, wait. If you've seen that dinosaur running around, it's all John's fault.
Hi, I have a question.
Sure.
I'm into tours, as in day tours.
Yep.
And I'll be in city tours soon. And my question is, can you talk a bit about that easy cancellation policy? Let's say for the next week you have each day a tour and you have like 30 people signed in at each tour, and then you get massive cancellations and you end up with 5 people on the first tour, like 3 the next day, maybe 15 at the third tour. So in order for a business to survive, if we're talking about a relatively small tourist destination as Bucharest, Romania, each number counts and each cancellation can impact your cash flow.
So the question then will be, at what point did they cancel? If they cancelled a week before, then you've got 7 days to fill that space. If we can get people traveling spontaneously, not to make a decision to go traveling, but to wake up in the morning, 8 o'clock in the morning, and go, what shall I do today? If we can get them booking last minute, then if some of your customers cancelled with 7 days to go, then you should still be able to get to customers at the last minute. This is fundamentally about when they choose to cancel. So, you know, I think that...
So a 7-day, 100% refund cancellation is okay?
Yeah, I mean, it depends also. I'll need to look at your specific situation, but actually the situation is also about the marginal cost of the tour. So, for example, a food tour, you may have brought ingredients, so you can't accept a cancellation if you've already spent the money for that guest. Or a whitewater rafting, where you need a certain number of guides for that thing. But if you're selling a bus and it's going to run, if you have 10 people or 30 people, then your cost is already gone. You've sunk your cost, at which point it's annoying that they've cancelled because you've lost your revenue, but actually you have to look at your costs and what your kind of business is. It's not a straightforward answer to answer in front of 150 people without looking at your numbers. But yeah, it should be possible. But
thank you.
I'll give you a business card, and then you can email me,
yes,
and
please.
I'll have a look.
Thank you.
Can we have a... Wait.
Test.
Insurance? Okay. Yeah. So the question is...
Like if the tour costs $50 and you add an insurance fee free cancellation for $2, you can add the model, and you can add another model of commission sharing model. If you can show that people that are taking tours, there's an increase of booking in hotels and stuff like that, you can let them share some amount and then compensate.
Yeah, there are.
I mean, problem.
You know, you can get your Excel out and start analyzing all the numbers. One of the challenges with local tours is that the people attracted to local tours as a sector are not the same people who want to go and sit for 8 hours looking at an Excel document modeling all of the outcomes. So it's a mindset problem, you know. I wish they did, but they don't. They want to be out there with guests, and that's how they want to be. Yeah, but it is about modeling. It's about how many cancel versus how many extra. In hotels, we would call that yield management. It's a bit like that. That was a good comment, yeah. Any other questions? We're wrapping up. Questions? Any more questions? Tours and activities, restaurants. It's where the guest is going to remember. Look at the social media, it's what they remember. If you want to improve your destination and its portrayal out there, then tours and activities is where the focus should be. Not hotels, not airlines. Of course I'm biased, but that's where we can be. So I'm just going to say unless there's any more questions, I'll just say thank you very much for your time. Thank you.